Hey everyone, this is Amanda from Devotion in Action, and I've got this printable here. I am in Ecclesiastes, and I already have something in chapter 4 on this page, so I'm going to use it on the facing page. And just getting that gnome underneath here. This is actually for Ecclesiastes 4, verses 9 through 12. Just checking out, seeing which gnome I want to use here, and I think I'm going to use the extra large gnome right there. Washi tape that paper in so that we can trace that guy out and get him on this page. And while I'm tracing this, I'm going to read to you from Ecclesiastes 4, verses 9 through 12. 2 are better than 1, because they have a good reward for their toil. For if they fall, one will lift up his fellow. But woe to him who is alone when he falls, and has not another to lift him up. Again, if 2 lie together, they keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? And though a man might prevail against one who is alone, 2 will withstand him. A threefold cord is not quickly broken. And just like every other day, I am tracing with a Faber-Castell Pitt Artist pen. This is India ink. It does not react to water, so that I can water color over the top of this, and it won't smear or smudge or run with the water from the watercolor on top of it. This theme of this devotional and this printable is it's in honor of my parents. Yesterday was my parents' 60th wedding anniversary. They've been married 60 years. Their devotion to one another and to God is an inspiration to me and to a lot of people that I know. And so I decided to do a devotional on this, and I also think it's a very interesting idea to contemplate the marriage that Joseph and Mary had, because they really wanted to just get married, right? But God kind of interrupted their plans with a plan that was bigger and better than what they had planned or would have even imagined for themselves. And I think it's very interesting to kind of note kind of how their lives changed, but how they stayed true to one another, how they honored one another through the process, even when Joseph thought he was going to divorce Mary and break off the engagement, because back then an engagement was as binding as a marriage, basically. Even when he thought that that's what he was going to do, he was going to try to do it quietly, and so it would do as little harm as possible to her and her reputation and her family. So that's a man acting with a lot of honor. And then the angel appeared to Joseph, and he realized that this was all part of God's plan, and that Mary had not been unfaithful to him, and they became the parents of God incarnate, right? The ones who would raise Jesus here on earth. So in Mark chapter 10, verses 5 through 9, it says, "And Jesus said to them, because of your hardness of heart, he wrote you this commandment. But from the beginning of creation, God made them male and female. Therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and the 2 shall become one flesh. So they are no longer 2, but one flesh. What therefore God has joined together, let not man separate." That's in Mark chapter 10. The foundation of my parents' marriage, of Joseph and Mary's marriage, has always been a commitment first to God and second to each other. They keep Jesus at the center of their marriage, and it has withstood trouble, tragedy, struggle, illness, and more. Genesis 2:24 says, "Therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh." I'm going to take a break from the devotional for just a minute. I really like how this hat came out. I started with kind of a teal color and decided to kind of gradate the color from a dark evergreen through the teal to a blue at the top, and it worked out really well. It kind of blended out nicely. I like how that turned out. I'll try some more of those kind of gradient techniques in the future, I think, because I really like how that worked out there. just adding in, and if there's still a lot of water on that hat, so I'm being a little bit careful with the nose that I don't connect those two paint colors, the one of the nose and the one of the hat. So the stresses of the Christmas season can put a strain on a marriage. However, we can choose to look at our spouse as an amazing gift from God. Proverbs 19:14 says, "He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord." And I think we can kind of turn that around too. Like those of us who have husbands, God has given us a good thing in that. And we can look at them as a gift from God. So our action step today is, if we are married, we need to remind ourselves that no matter the stresses that can cause us to be frustrated or irritated by our spouse, they are a gift entrusted to us by God. And if you're not married, God says that Jesus is the bridegroom and his church is the bride. We can see Jesus as the gift that he is. So your little sign, you can put whatever you would like on it. I've got kind of a sign saying, "Marry me," on mine, in honor of my parents' wedding anniversary. But you can put whatever reminds you. You could put a threefold cord is stronger. You could put Jesus marry us, or however you want to mark this one. You can change that sign to say whatever you would like. I'm going to make my sign white with a gold banded engagement ring and a little bit of the silver on that diamond. And then on the sides of it, I'm adding in kind of a light coral pink and a little bit darker on the bottom of that sign as well. And that on the heart too, adding in that. So dear God, help us to remember that we are stronger together than apart. Help us to put Jesus at the center of our marriages and give us your perspective of our spouses this season. In Jesus' name, amen. And then also on the sign, I'm just bringing that coral color down the right-hand side and the white down the main part of the sign. I think it's going to pop once I get a background on here. That kind of went outside the lines. Just grab clean water and you can pick up that color pretty easily. On this beard, I want the mustache to stand out against the gnome beard, so I'm going to make the gnome beard behind it a little bit lighter and the mustache a little darker. And then also anywhere where the mustache would cast a shadow is going to be darker. That creates dimension, like the mustache is sticking out further than the beard is. It's on top of it. And that creates the dimension. That makes, as lifelike as a little gnome could be, it helps it out a bit. Makes it look more lifelike. Also on the edges of the beard, underneath the hat, and coming down the side, it needs to be a little bit darker. That's that shadow being cast by the hat that's hanging down over the face of the gnome. And then grabbing some metallic color and mixing that up. And I'm adding that to the darker brown and making the mustache in that. So it'll kind of shimmer as well as be a little bit darker than the beard behind it. That is a nice trick if you only have the Starry Collection set of metallic watercolors. You can use your normal colors and just mix in those Starry Collection colors and you'll create metallic versions of all of your normal watercolors. So adding in just a little bit tonally different brown on that mustache as well. And I didn't want it quite that dark, so I'm just adding, kind of picking up some of that paint with not too wet of a brush, kind of using a paper towel to dry that off just a little bit and pick up that paint. And then I'm creating a foundation for our gnome to stand on using green here, and then a little bit of gray to create a shadow underneath him. And that's nice because the gnome doesn't feel like he's floating in space then. So about to fly away with his little sign. And then some purple in this blue up here. I'm just reactivating all the blue that's on my top tray and adding purple in there and coming in with purple because I think it'll really set off the teal and the green and the blue of that hat and still be dark enough for the sign that he is holding to pop against that color. And you'll notice that I am not making fluid strokes. I'm kind of bringing in the edge around the gnome and then dabbing the paint on the rest of the page. That's because I was looking for a little bit of a different texture. Like I said in one of the past videos, these backgrounds are a nice opportunity for us to try out gradients and textures and different tonal values and see what the watercolor does on our Bible pages. And sometimes you could come up with something that you just really, really, really like, and sometimes it's not your favorite thing in the world, but it's a fun opportunity to try out new things as we are doing these backgrounds around these gnomes. And I do kind of like the pattern that this created. I'm just taking a little bit of water and just smoothing it out just a little bit. It was just a little too choppy for what I wanted for this page, but you can still see a definite texture in this background, and I do like that quite a bit. I'm going to dry this, hit it with the heat tool really quickly and dry it. And then I think I'd like to splatter it with some gold little droplets. And of course, I'm going to want to write at Devo in Action and the hashtag DIA Gnomes. That's the hashtag for this series. We're coming in close to the end now. It's in the last week before Christmas. I hope you guys are all ready for Christmas and you've got your shopping mostly done and you can enjoy these last few days of leading up to Christmas Eve and Christmas. And those looked a little bit subdued by the white watercolor paint that I use. Sorry, my brain is not working super well. Darkening the downstrokes on the title here along his hat, which is a threefold cord. And then, of course, always add the date as well. If you haven't followed on Instagram or Facebook, that's at Devo in Action is my handle on both of those things. And at YouTube, it's at Devotion in Action. That's if you put in that, it will take you to my YouTube channel. So you could also search Devotion in Action and you'll see my face smiling at you. So and all videos about Bible art journaling. So you should be able to find that pretty easily. Some sprinkles on there, some sparkles, and then just hit that with the heat tool to get those completely dry. Don't want to close a Bible page when you've still got wet paint on it because it will stick to the facing page and then you'll have a hard time peeling those pages apart. I hope you have enjoyed today's entry. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.